To Poetry Lockdown. Um, we're at day 148, and if you have been tracking the way that I do these days, you'll notice, oh, you didn't do Poetry Lockdown for the last like 9 or 10 days. How did you skip ahead to that day? Um, I'm really just trying to track each day, since Minnesota was first on quarantine, was way back in March, I think the 17th. So that's why the days look kind of goofy. Anyway, it's good to be back. Christine and I are back from the North Shore, really restful vacation. And yeah, looking forward to continuing this poetry series. Even as I get back to school and try to sift through whatever policies we do at our high school, I'm sure that we will need the nourishment of poetry for this year as teachers. So, really excited about today's poem. This poet Eric Gamalinda is an example of how doing this series has just opened me up to all kinds of different poets who I didn't even know existed before the lockdown. So I've shared with you the work of two poets who really admire this poet's work. One, Lori Ann Guerrero. She actually had a really cool episode on this podcast that I link you to by this other poet, Dan Vera, in which she talks about this poem that I'm going to read, No Fly Zone. And she's the reason that I was first introduced to the poem. And then in a cool, happy coincidence, when I was Googling to find a text of the poem, I stumbled over a review by none other than Patrick Rosal, who I've featured a couple of times on the Poetry Lockdown. And I'm going to read from his terrific review of the book that No Fly Zone comes from. So let me do that right now. It's just kind of an intro to the poem, and it really lets you get a sense for Gamalinda's way of working as a poet. So this is from Patrick Rosal's review. He says, Gamalinda has extraordinary patience. The way he allows the language to unfurl its surprises one by one. There is real awe here, not witless or overwhelmed awe, but one of high, shall I say, awareness? And the awe, is almost whispered, or it is bellowed. Take your pick. The poems seem to have the quality of simultaneous energies, kinetic and quiet. I love that, and it's so appropriate, so apt. Rosal, like I've said before, is just, in addition to being a brilliant poet, a brilliant essayist and critic of poetry. So I love that, the kinetic and the quiet. And I'll let you see if you can hear that kind of mix of both and energy that I definitely pick up in this poem. I believe it was written in 2007. No Fly Zone by Eric Gamalinda. Whatever form you imagine your worst fear, if the zigzag of sunlight on the stoop profoundly disturbs you, no matter how much bitterness your earliest memory casts on your dinner plate, whether you come from a country of refugees or xenophobes, whether you sleep on the right side of the bed or the left, with a man or a woman, in whatever language you articulate your desire, even if tanks roll out of armories looking for the dead center of mothers' hearts, or in a city somewhere someone broods under a lamp and pronounces a few words that could have saved a life, until the earth implodes with industry and volcanoes sputter their last reproach. No matter who you were 2 weeks ago, no matter what voluntary evil lurked in your heart when you woke this morning, and you smoked a cigarette in the rain, and someone's name tasted like blood on your lips, I am glad to share this lifetime with you. There is no other planet where the cultivation of souls is possible, not that we know of. May the happiness of others protect you. May you find the flashing exit signs at the turnpikes of suffering and a coin to buy your way out of hell. That was Eric Gamalinda's No Fly Zone, and it got to me in the middle of the poem. You can see me, I'm tearing up a little bit. It's so beautiful. So one of the things I like to do in this series is read the poem out loud, because I think you need to do that with poetry, but then also talk a little bit about why I love the poem. There's so many reasons why I admire this poem. I think one of the things that struck me I talked about sort of the both and energy of this poem. It is it's one sentence, and if you want to think about how can you contain both and of the world, the incredible hatred and the incredible love, I think the incredible power of a sentence, like a large, capacious sentence, speaks that more powerfully, more beautifully than anything else. And the fact that this poem, the no-fly zone, right, which is, if I'm understanding that right, it's where planes don't go, where you do not fly. And Gamalinda is willing to speak the names and the sentiments of enemies. And there's a sense in which this poem has that capacity to explore both hatred and love. And something Lorianne Guerrero said in her episode, she was just marveling at the fact that, my goodness, this poem was written in 2007, but how apt for right now, this moment in which we are, in some sense, both profoundly isolated. We're aware of our profound isolation from each other, but also our profound connection. And I feel like the line that she really zeroed in on, which also is the one that kind of made me cry a little bit, is after naming sort of, even if you had evil in your heart and someone's name tasted like blood on your lips, the poet is still able to say, I am glad to share this lifetime with you. And I don't think that is a sentimental line, right? That is a hard-earned act of solidarity. The poet is feeling both the great pain and the great joy of being a human being. Yeah, I can't get over how much I admire this poem. It's so beautiful. So I'll just leave you there to marvel over it yourself. But thanks for coming back to Poetry Lockdown. Thank you, Eric Gamalinda, for this beautiful poem. Thanks, Lorianne Guerrero, for sharing it with me, for that terrific podcast. Check it out, Dan Vera, and for Patrick Rosal, again, for that beautiful review. Hope you all have a great Monday, great start to your week. Peace.